If your child isn't sleeping, then you aren't sleeping. And children who don't sleep well will not do well in school. They'll not do as well with their peers. They may have behavioral problems, and they can have problems with growth and development. So how do you help a child who isn't sleeping well? Well, in this video, I'll tell you. I should start by saying that these sleeping tips may not be for everybody. Everybody sleeps a little bit differently, and for some children, they may not need all of these things. These tips are not designed for kids who have neurologic problems, including autism or ADHD, but they might work well for some of those kids. If your child isn't sleeping well at night, there's a pretty good chance that their body's natural clock is not set correctly. The body has a natural clock that it sets every day based on cues that your eyes get about light from the outside world. That's how your body knows when it's day and when it's night. In many kids, and especially in teenagers, this clock tends to run a little bit longer than an actual 24-hour day, so that makes it difficult for them to keep a regular sleep schedule. The trick is really to reset the clock. Now, I suggest you start with when the child wakes up in the morning. When your child gets up in the morning, I recommend that they get up suddenly, without snooze alarms or gradual eases into the day. Wake them up and turn on the lights. Through the day, kids who have sleep problems should not nap so that they will be tired at the proper time during the night. In order to set that all-important clock piece that helps tell the body it's time to be sleepy, you have to get the body ready for bed. For most people, it takes a good 20 to 30 minutes of a fairly constant routine to get the body ready for bed. A common mistake is to do things differently on the weekends when children may not have to get up as early in the morning. But every time you do that, you make the body reset its own clock every week. So for kids who are having difficulty sleeping, it is best to put them to bed and wake them up at about the same time every day, even on the weekends. When you think about looking at a screen, you're looking at a light, and that's telling the body to stay awake. So for the hour before bedtime in kids who are having sleep problems, they should not look at a screen. Don't look at phones, don't look at computers, don't look at televisions. Now for that at least 20 to 30 minutes before bedtime, we should have a fairly constant routine. Do the same thing every night. Now that can include putting on pajamas, brushing teeth, story time, or other important things that will help the body to get ready for bed. But it should not include exercise, stimulating activities like dancing or listening to fast music, or watching TV, of course. Now, I do recommend that during this 20 or 30 minute bedtime routine that we use fairly dim lights to help the body set its clock. Now, I don't want anybody stumbling around in the dark. That's not what I mean at all. If reading, for example, is part of your bedtime routine, and I do think it should be part of your bedtime routine, instead of using a bright room light to read by, instead turn the room lights off and use a small reading lamp that will just light up the book as you read. When it's time to turn off the lights, look around in your child's sleep environment. Make sure it's suitably dark, but look out for shadows or other things that might be scary to your child that might prevent them from being able to get to sleep, or if they wake up during the night, might scare them. I do not recommend televisions or computers or any other bright lights in the room itself. Even a night light needs to be used carefully because sometimes they can interfere with kids' ability to sleep well. Noises around a child may make it harder for them to sleep as well. Particularly if your home is noisy or there are other things going on when the child is asleep, I recommend using a source of white noise to help them go to sleep. White noise is just a staticky sound, shh, or something like that. And there are apps that will make white noise. There are white noise generator machines that you can get. Or you can just use a fan or a radio tuned to a static nothing station just to get that source of white noise. It helps drown out other sounds and helps so that the brain is not distracted by other things going on around. But the trick with white noise is that you have to keep it on all night. If that white noise stops and then your child wakes up during the night, they will be waking up in a different environment. They won't consciously know what's different, but they'll know something's not the same, and it will be harder for them to go back to sleep. We all get up during the night, every one of us, from the smallest babies to older adults. We get up and we may roll over and go right back to sleep without even being aware that we were awake. But if there's something in that room that's different when your child wakes up during the night, that may be something that can make it harder for them to get back to sleep. Now that same thing applies for anything that could be different in the environment when a child wakes up versus when they went to sleep. That includes the presence of a parent or somebody else in the bed with them. So I do not recommend that parents lay down with their kids when it's bedtime to go to sleep. Instead, I recommend that they leave their child alone in their bedroom, and if the child has a problem with that, tell them you'll be back to check on them in 5 minutes, and then be back to check on them in 5 minutes. Say as little as possible, just look at the child, maybe wave. After a while, the child will understand that you are there for them, you're not disappearing, and you won't need to check back in on them. Now, for those children who have, for years or for long periods of time, always gone to sleep in a parent's arms or with the parent right there, you may need to further wean the parent before you can just leave the room. That can be done by changing from holding your child to just holding their hand, and graduating after a few nights to just having a hand on them. After a few nights, you may need to be there in the room with them, but not touching them. In fact, some parents of my patients have had to move their chairs gradually across the room until they were out the door and in the hallway. When your body gets cues from your eyes that help it set its natural clock, the body does something interesting. It produces a hormone called melatonin that helps to relax the body and get it to sleep. A melatonin supplement is a plant-derived version of this hormone that the body makes. And there are some tricks to using it. I'm not going to go over those here, but I'd like to tell you that if you want to use melatonin to help your child sleep, talk to your healthcare provider before doing that. There are some tricks to using melatonin. It's not quite as simple as you would think. Now, melatonin is just a chemical that helps your body to set its clocks. Melatonin is not a sleep-inducing medication. And sleep-inducing medications in kids, there are very few that we consider to be safe or effective, so we really don't like to use those. Don't use medicines like Benadryl to help your child go to sleep. Benadryl is an antihistamine medicine that will make your child sleepy and may help them go to sleep. But the problem is it interferes with your body's natural sleep cycles, and that sleep is not as relaxing and not as beneficial to the body as natural sleep. And children may still be tired and not do well the next day if they went to sleep using Benadryl to help them get to sleep. Please keep in mind that these sleep tips are not for everybody. Everyone sleeps a little bit differently, and not all children even need these things. So if your child is having difficulty with sleeping despite trying some of the tips that I told you today, please see your child's healthcare provider, and they can help with some more individualized and specific tips for your child. Parenting, you got this. See you soon. Please hit that little thumbs up to like this video, subscribe to our channel, and then hit the little bell so that you won't miss a thing.